Yeah, I said I'd try to go to bed early. I was having trouble. I've been having trouble. It's 4 a.m. Figured it'd be nice and show you guys some of my photography. So my newer stuff that I've just worked on, that I was doing. I do this while I go out on my walks. So this is cleaned up, not cleaned up. Pretty cool, huh? This is what I tend to do to help relax. It's kind of what I call like depression photography or phototherapy. And go out and I go for walks. I work on. This is what I like to do. Kind of helps clear the brain. All that fun stuff. And of course I tend to zoom in on this stuff, as you can see. No, you're not going to hear the sound from that. Oh wait. There we go. Might be hard to hear because of the fan in the background. But yeah, like before and after, where I go to clean it up, bring the color out. Nope. Deny. See? Found this apple tree. It's a crab apple that was out there, and I thought it was pretty cool, so I went ahead and took a close-up picture of it. Pretty awesome, huh? In case you're wondering what this is, that's my leg. Each one of these things, let's see here. Let's make it easy. So each one of these is a tumor. All of these are tumors. That's just on my left thigh. It's what, and so it starts to cause muscular dystrophy in my legs. My new hoodie and t-shirt, American Gummy-Bear. Too much bullshit. I'm gonna do one that's too much BC. Some can say too much bull crap. Others can say too much before Christ. This is actually a farm my brother and I worked at when we were teenagers. We used to go buck hay, and I still remember when we had to fill this building up to right about where the gutters are, and equivalent to the outside, because there's like, it was only like 10, so the door there's a floor that is about maybe 4 feet above that door, and we had to stack hay from there up to basically that spot where that white little window looking thing is. It's weird seeing stuff from your childhood just falling apart. There used to be cows all through that field. And I took like 3 shots of these to get different effects, like that slight blur to it, where I don't know how to explain it. It kind of give it that almost surreal, effect to it, or feel. And then before and after for that picture. I liked this view, and so I was trying to get basically the same shot, just slightly different each time to try and get the right one. This is probably my favorite one. And this golf ball I had found yesterday on my walk. So I stuffed it in the tree to see if anybody would find it. And nobody did. But yep, before, after, brought those colors out. And it's a Titleist 62. And then nothing feels like a rich country neighborhood than a little walking trail like this. It's not really little. It's like almost 3 miles long. But then we come over here. This is my website for my pictures. Basically my photo gallery. I mean, yeah. This is how I dealt with a lot. Whoops. Wrong one. This is how I dealt with my depression. Well, that's crazy. And dealt with being alone so damn much. This is what I was doing all these years, other than working on the property and trying to repair stuff, update stuff, clean stuff up. Some of these photos were taken before getting the house too. These pictures right here of the sunset were actually taken from my old bathroom window. I've got almost 500 photos, or over 400 photos, like 418. And the ones I just showed you in the gallery before this, I haven't added to this yet. This is something I enjoy doing. I said it's a bit of therapy for me. Because I was feeling alone a lot, and I just needed to do things that kept me busy. If I couldn't get out and about, I would try to figure out something to do in the house. Otherwise, yeah, I would. If my back was going to shit, I would be stuck on my backside. What's funny is these two pictures right here are actually taken at my property over in Chiloquin. Same with that one. These are taken in Dexter, Oregon. And yeah, that sky that night really actually was that purpley. My grandpa's forge that I was repairing. That smoke, Claude, you see in the center there, that's actually the smoke from the bootleg fire. That almost burnt over my property. And then, yeah, some of these pictures I had taken a long time ago, before moving down there. But I like to go on adventures and stuff like this, to go on walks and stuff. Because, I've said before, I don't do well in city spaces too much, especially on my own. And it's always good to have a companion around anyways. This is one of my favorite pictures. If you notice, there's a little guy right there. And then there's the little guy right there. So that big yellow thing in the middle with the 3 pumpkins, that's actually a spaghetti squash. I learned how to get a spaghetti squash to grow to about between 20 and 30 pounds right there, and that thing was as big as my torso. And then that cannabis, yeah, it was back a long time ago when I was growing medically for Oregon Medical and for my brother, not just for myself. This is, sorry, this is actually up around the Vista. See the Vista house. It's the view around it. We'll get to a point where we'll start getting the newer photos, of course. Oregon City, the mill. The Portland Grotto. That tree's on my property too. I love this tree. It makes me think of The Hobbit, like how the artwork was. The artwork. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but yeah. This is one of my methods of dealing with depression, anxiety, and all that fun stuff. Also, one of the ways I would deal with loneliness, because I was alone a lot. I got about 2-3 hours of time with that person while living down there before they were in bed. I got enough time with them to basically cook them dinner, they'd eat it and go to sleep. And then on the weekends, if I was home, they'd sleep through the weekend, or they'd go slip away to their boyfriend's house, telling me that they're going to their friend's house when really it was their boyfriend's house. So I spent about 20 hours a day alone the last near 5 years. Some days I'd get to talk to my neighbors and all that. Most of the time I would avoid it, because just like with having to create a new social media account on Facebook using a dummy email, I ended up closing that anyways, because I noticed they had I let a couple of the what they call flying monkeys in, and yeah, I'm just not up to allowing my shit being snooped too much anymore. So I don't actually have any social media accounts at all anymore, other than my Twitter one and YouTube. I think the Facebook one, there's one Facebook one I think is still up, but I'm not using it. It's linked to like some of my games that I play on my phone. So yep, these are places I used to enjoy going and like taking walks or riding an ATV and stuff up to, and doing photography. When I took these pictures, it was just before I got. It was when I took these pictures. It was when they were up cheating on me. It was that day. It was the following day that they decided to come out and be honest about it. Half-ass honest, because they lied about going to OHSU. But at least I got some really nice photos out of it. And then when I came up to back up to Oregon City, I decided to go on one of my walks down at Clackamas Park. It's where I used to hang out with my brother, even my younger son's mom, my buddy Nate. We used to go here all the time during the summertime. There's a lot of memories in this area and all that stuff in Oregon City, and that's why I gotta go. I can't leave the past behind when I'm living right in the middle of it. And I've got, I gotta refocus and restructure my life and myself so that I can be there, hopefully in the long term, for my kids, and not just Yeah, I have I yeah, I want to start a business. I want to, hopefully find somebody to settle down with. And, if a family is involved, the family is involved. It just, yeah. Even though the name of my online gallery is called Donachie Gallery, it's what I call my depression photography. It's when I'm in a different place or a different mindset, it's how I cope with it. Otherwise, if I don't, things sort of start to bubble up. But yeah. That's my online uh, little gallery thing. And I just do it as a hobby. It's, that type of stuff. I don't really make money off of it. I've got photos that I've won awards on down at the county down there, and I've been invited to the local gallery a couple times. I wasn't sure if I was going to be there long enough to really do anything like that. As is, I don't really know how to sell my artwork. I've got some photos, I think they're in my truck, that I've got 4x7s of that I've got framed up. Because my bigger ones that I did special, I gave one to my buddy Nate, his brother and mom, and then the other two to my folks. Otherwise, I was selling them for like $35 a pop. Original thing, not like some mass print shit. I wish my brain would slow down. And I mean, I'm not really stressing on anything necessarily. I'm doing, for most part, fairly well and keep myself distracted and all that. I just can't get my brain to slow down. Between business and all that other stuff, I'm trying to focus on sorry. I'm trying to focus on hopefully a better future. I'm trying to focus on what kind of life I should have. I should have had already, but I just went through life without not really having a plan because my whole life evolved around being there for my son. And at first, the first few years, they weren't really in my life, and I dealt with a lot of depression then. And instead of doing what I did then by diving into drugs to deal with the depression, I started to dive more into, well, originally when I was dealing with some of this depression and feeling lonely, especially in this relationship, I started delving into politics and all that shit, just trying to connect with other people. When I was married, it was gaming, and that was probably my biggest flaw. And that's, I gamed for a while in this last relationship, but I just kind of, outside of the abuse that I was dealing with and it being listened to on my friends hearing it while we were gaming, and they would hear it almost on a daily basis. That's why I eventually quit playing. It wasn't just the internet connection, it was why I quit playing. It was getting embarrassing. But I had to find other ways of managing the anxieties, the stress, the depression, and all that. And instead of going off and running off to go do more drugs, I started delving more into my photography, more on my walks, more on like the gardens when I could work on them, when I could, because I had so many things I was trying to do over the last 4 years, between chicken coops and gardens and ponds and fencing and shoveling snow with an 18-inch snow shovel, like on a 200 foot driveway, 2 to 4 feet of snow depending on how bad it snowed, all kinds of shit, and doing it by yourself on a, at times there it was daily just to keep the snow down, but then it just busted me down too bad, dropping trees, moving logs, moving rocks and boulders, finding the old owner's fucking trash dump when digging out the pond, and then the owners before them, which was underneath that of all things. That was the one thing I think during that kind of, it irked me, but I couldn't help but laugh about it, because that represented the generation that tells us how to clean up the environment right now. It's the same generation of people who are telling us how to be environmental. We're the people who are burying that shit in the ground, including like batteries and crap, like old batteries. I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? So, I mean, I was getting irritated with that one. I was like, no way. But the more things got more overwhelming and got more difficult, there was a moment there I tried to search out people to talk to, but I kept getting met with closed doors. And then others, they would be polite, and then they would ghost me, like right after. Some would just simply, start judging me, going, oh, I don't like your politics, or I don't like this. And yeah, others just wouldn't respond. They'd see the message, but they just wouldn't respond. And so I got to a point, it was like, I look back on everything, and that's why I've come to the decision that I have, that I'm not helping anyone out anymore within this group of people. And so it doesn't shut down again like that, because I'm doing a screen record thing. But then, yeah, just I've been looking back. I look back on everything, and I realized how alone I really fucking was. And the only person that I could technically look to was God. That was the only one. People might think that's fucking crazy. I don't care. But that's what got me through all this shit. I mean, I hit a point in my life that was so fucking low because I was being driven to feel like absolute shit by that person, being used, being fucking treated like I didn't exist. I was just a fucking live-in roommate that was just paying for the house and paying for primarily everything, and then whatever I couldn't pay for, they just used my identity to go get fucking state assistance out of county to pay for the bills they didn't want to pay for, while they were doing whatever the fuck they want, and was living a life that was beyond their means until they got this current job. They're complaining about, oh, I can't afford to pay my car, and they start guilting me for months till I get a job, and then they cost me that job like at the end that, like, that fucking within 24 hours of having my first full day. Yeah, just a whole lot of stuff. And it's not that I haven't let go. Some of this is still lingering with me, and it's because I'm not gonna forget it, and I'll always look at it as a learning experience at this point. It's just I realized that everybody I ever knew, from family to friends, nobody was there. And instead, when I was begging for help, people would flake, and then when I'd start getting upset, then people start getting mad at me for getting upset. They'd start, making me out a piece of shit because I'd be waiting for months. My body's falling apart. We're starting to freeze. We're starting to starve. And it was costing me out the ass to travel so far just to get fucking water. To the point things froze up in the RV, and we were starting to freeze out there, and then I was getting judged because I couldn't get the electrical turned on repaired and done by myself. I couldn't get the flooring and all that stuff done by myself because I couldn't get the vapor barrier under the house done by myself because I couldn't do all this shit by myself. I needed help, and nobody showed up. And when those showed up, they decided to show up after they break my relationship up, just like they're all starting to do now again. And that's why this has added to well, it didn't add to, it solidified my choice. It's why I'm not even going to tell my family where I plan to move to. I'm severing things. I might converse with them, all that shit, but I'm not going to tell them where I'm moving to. I'm not going to tell them where I'm living. They're not going to get an address. I might even just keep this cell phone number. The last 4, going on 5 years, not only told me what I don't want in people, but it also showed me what people were really like. And to deal with that level of narcissistic abuse that I dealt with from that person, and to have them bring in everybody I've ever known and destroyed every relationship I ever had, to the point I have to question almost all of them. There's only a few people that I don't have to question it because, one, they either knew too much, witnessed too much, or they weren't some sort of threat to her, or to them, I should say. If they were some sort of threat, and they might sit and laugh and go, ha, blah, 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 no, they ain't a threat, I'm better. Well, that's the narcissistic personality coming out in her. And if you're sitting right there and you witness her doing that, or she's watching this and is doing that at home where she's living now, then she needs to realize that she's a narcissist. I couldn't talk to any female friend without getting told I was cheating while she was out cheating. That's why a lot of my female friends, including like my sister Danielle, I didn't really talk to. And that's why anytime I did talk to anybody, I began to delete shit. Why? Because I had to deal with my ex going through my phone and going through my shit. I didn't go through her purse. I didn't go through her phone. I didn't go do any of that stuff, even when I knew she was cheating on me. That's the difference of showing trust in somebody who doesn't deserve trust, and having no trust in somebody who's done nothing but stay loyal to you. Trust me, there are times where I got tempted because I was getting lonely. I was getting lonely in that relationship. I was getting tired of being nothing to that person, and I became real tempted on a few occasions over the last couple years, especially after she fucking lied, threw my ass in jail multiple times, lied to the courts that she was my wife, I was molesting and abusing my children, and all this other shit. It's all in the restraining order stuff. I still have that paperwork actually in my truck. I actually still have pictures of it too, along with all of her statements. And because she portrayed herself as my wife, she got me banned from going home to my house with my name on it, that she never paid anything on, no contract, no nothing, and she took my house from me during that time. And then I got made out the piece of shit for having her removed from the house, basically. Because the courts thought that was my wife, and I was putting my wife and my kids out on the street. It wasn't until I pointed out to my attorneys, our son, we only have one child together, and he's in his mid-20s. At the time, he was like 24, 25, 24, something like that. And I sat there like, I was abused when I was from the age of 3 to 5. I had to go through a lot of counseling and therapy to deal with that abuse that I dealt with when I was younger. And I sat there like, and her running around telling people I'm a child molester and doing all this other shit. I said, I feel like this woman's trying to get me killed now. Narcissists don't give a shit about what they do. That's why they don't think about a fucking thing when they get mad and they run their fucking mouths. And they do it to destroy you. They don't care. They never cared. They don't love you. They love what you have or what they can get out of you. Even if you're not rich, if they can get you to drain your bank account to make their life easier, they're gonna do it, and they're not gonna give a shit. And they're gonna stick around until you start getting miserable or you start speaking up and all this crap. Then you're gonna get made out the asshole. And you know who you're gonna get compared to? You're gonna get compared to me. Just like I was compared to her ex-husband. And the difference is I didn't do the shit her ex-husband did. Nowhere near it. I stood up for myself, and that's what I did wrong. And that's what eventually started breaking me. Because I had no one to turn to. I couldn't even talk to my kids. What was irony is my oldest son literally, you know, I'm tired of you paint me, you know, what was it? You're a narcissist. You go around and talk shit. You go around and talk shit to people to try and make so-and-so look bad. Really, that's why I'm alone and everybody listened to that person and him. And my younger son. I dealt with enough manipulation from all that abuse between those three people. I don't trust them. I love my younger son a lot, but I don't trust him very well. I trust him to a certain degree. I don't hate either of my kids. I'm not angry with them. I'm very hurt by them. And yes, I want nothing to do with my oldest. My younger one, right now, I need to separate myself from all of them. I've got to move. I've got to leave. I've got to focus on a new home, a new business, and a new life. The way they all did to me. While telling me I was a piece of shit. I had never felt so alone in my life like I did, like I have the last 4 or 5 years. And I can be honest in saying, from the various forms of abuse that I've dealt with since I was a child, and some of that, you can see the proof further down in the videos. I dealt with some really fucked up abuse as a child. And that abuse went from being what it was. I was doing narcissistic abuse from my mother. Dismissive abuse from my dad. I was being bullied a lot at school. I was doing a lot of shit. I could have been one of those kids who eventually went to school and started popping people, but I didn't. I didn't treat people the way I was being treated. And not one person I know, not even that person, can say I treated people the way I was being treated by my family at home. If I treated her at any ounce of a degree of way my mother treated me, then she would have something to stand on when she went around talking shit to everybody. Her and my kids, all three. Narcissists will cost you everything. They'll cost you your families, your friends, your jobs, your homes if they can. They'll cost you everything. And if they can, they will leave you out on the fucking street with nothing and nowhere and no one to turn to. Because she even made sure that I couldn't even call 911 for help down there. I couldn't even get help down there. There's nowhere I could turn to get help. So, who did I have to turn to? Yeah, like I've been saying. The only person I had to turn to was God himself. That's all I had. I had my therapist, and I had my doctors, and I had my attorney's office. Those were really the only people I talked to on a more regular basis than even my neighbor or the guy at the market, Scott. Excuse me. If I wasn't out like working on like blacksmithing like I was for a while there, or working on the yard, working on some sort of project to try and keep busy, because I was lonely as fuck. I'm still lonely as fuck. Because that alienation realistically has not ended. That ghosting has not ended. And the people that are coming around all of a sudden, again, after my relationship fails again, I'm not sure I can take them genuine again. Their actions have spoken more than their words have, no matter how nice they've been. And it's told me I can't trust them. No matter how nice they were to me. That deception, that's all I'm going to look at it now. That's why I'm so focused on building my life elsewhere, and hopefully in the process of doing so, maybe I will find someone out there. Maybe I will find that family that actually wants me around, and people that won't sit there and fucking judge me on anything they fucking can, let alone pass their bullshit off onto me. I've been looking for commitment for the last at this point, since my wife and I said I do. I've been wanting commitment. I've been wanting a family. And I was gonna go back to school before I was going back to school before I had already signed up, did all that stuff with my wife, because we were gonna go back to school together. And that's when I ended up in the hospital, and that's when Melissa was getting in trouble for abusing her son, which happened to be at the same time I was in the fucking hospital. So I mean, all this weird crazy shit happened all at once at that time. But I was doing everything I could to try and get away from disability at the time, to be able to go to school, get an education, to be able to somehow get a normal job. And the downside is I didn't have any of the special services that they had for people on disabilities and stuff like that. And I was struggling through college. Some of the classes were easy, but the couple I struggled with, and it brought my GPA down to a level that, yeah. There's one I walked out on because I put all this work on this video thing, because we were allowed to turn in a video or whatever instead of having to stand in front of the class and speak, because I have trouble speaking in front of groups of people. And the teacher said that he would accept videos, and like several people were, okay, sweet. I put a lot of work in that video, and I go to turn it in. He's like, no, you have to stand up and give a speech too. And I was like, no, fuck this. And one of the other things that happened at the same time is we were told we were allowed to ask the people who were giving their their presentations questions, so that way either to clarify their argument or to sort of challenge it a little bit. No, I got quieted up real fast. So I was like, I'm done. I'm not putting up with this shit. I don't put up with bullshit. I don't put up with it. I just don't. And so I will walk out or walk away. I don't like to argue. I don't like to fight. I walk away. Sometimes I'll run away to avoid it from getting bad. I don't like fighting and arguing with people. But I was doing everything I could, and then this shit happened, and then the last 12 fucking years happened, let alone the last going on 5 years. And the first place that would hire me was Little Amsterdam. I was having trouble getting work anywhere else, and it ended up being a dispensary that offered me my first job coming back, because, well, whether you want to say sadly or ironically or go figure, a lot of my knowledge wasn't just in growing fruits and vegetables and stuff. I have a fairly decent amount of knowledge on growing cannabis and the various strains and the medical uses and all that stuff for it. And so, like, when working there and dealing with customers, I dealt with a lot of the medical patients, while others dealt with a lot more of the recreational. I was very personable, but then I got punished for being personable and friendly with our customers and having small talk with them while I helped them, so that way they didn't feel uncomfortable there. There's a reason why I ended up for a while there was getting more tips than some of these other people, and was paying my rent just on tips alone. And then eventually others started to catch on, and started doing pretty well too. It's not like they were shitty bud tenders or anything like that. They were all pretty decent people. But yeah, I was giving it all I got, and I lost everything. And instead of being left in a fucking hospital the way I was, like my ex-wife did, this one tried to leave me in a jail cell for shit I didn't do. And she got all these fucking people to believe this bullshit, and not one of them bothered to talk to me. Not one of them asked for proof. Not nothing. They took it for they just straight took her word. So I mean, that's why I said I've made my decision on leaving. And again, I'm not saying where. I'm not saying never. I'm not going to tell anybody where I'm moving to. It's time to say goodbye to most, farewell to some, and in due time, when ready, I may see some of them again. It's just, I'm not going to carry this baggage or weight of responsibility for how I was treated by everyone, especially the last near half decade. Anyways, thanks for watching. I just talked your fucking head off for 41 minutes, and that wasn't on purpose. Have a good morning, good day.